Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Counterpoints podcast. We're running it back, me and B, no GBs, handling some business. So we're still manning the fort. We had a great show last week. We're going to try to repeat it this week. It's September 25th, 2024. Brian, how you doing?
Besides being incredibly exhausted, both personally and professionally, I'm fine.
Yeah, I see you still got your work shirt on, too. Brian's
Just
always
got back
coming to
from
work.
business dinner.
That's right. That's right. So today, we're going to do like we did last week. We're going to talk a little from college football from last week. We're going to dive into a little bit of NFL from last week, and then we're going to get into some games, some NFL games next week, and maybe we might dab into college, depending on how much time we got left. So, Brian, let's start it. You know what I want to start? GB's not here to defend himself. So let's start with Carolina versus Las Vegas Raiders. Man.
Oh, wait, we're going to start with the NFL, not college?
Oh, my bad. You know what? Look, I'm so excited to start talking about the Raiders losing that game, man.
You want to talk a Genghis Khan.
No, but yeah, let's go to college football. Look, let's start with your team, USC. They played against Michigan. I don't know how many people saw that game, but it was, the final score was a decent game. But, Brian, you're a USC fan. Tell me how you feel about that game.
So I think it's very obvious that USC is the better team of those two. I think even the Michigan coach understood that. But you can't beat good teams on the road in their house, especially the big house, if you spot them two quarters. And if you look at the first half of that game, USC was 100% completely asleep. They did absolutely nothing on offense. They got a field goal towards the end of the first half, and then, and just kind of gave up the first half. And then at halftime, they came out and figured it out and came out and played. And they looked dominant in the second half. But it wasn't enough because, Michigan played smart. They played savvy. The coaching was smart. Did the right thing when you know that you're outmatched talent-wise, but not outmatched on a point spread wise, and just ran the ball, took their time on the clock, looked at the flowers, watched the four-leaf clovers grow in the middle of the field, and ran out the clock. But I think the good news here is in years past, a Pac-12 team suffering a close loss like this would have fallen in the rankings like a rock. Yep. And this time, because it was against Michigan and the Big Ten, and they didn't fall like a rock. Matter of fact, I think they just dropped to like 13 or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think that's an appropriate adjustment. I think USC still looks like one of the better, not the best teams in college football, deserving of being in the playoffs. I mean, they're nowhere near Texas's level, but I think that this was a good chin check for them, and I'm hoping that they can turn around. Sharon, the coach of Michigan, very smart, very good game plan. There's a reason why he's still able to be 3-1 with far less talent than the team has had over the last few years. I have a lot of respect for him. Every time someone annoys me with all this Coach Prime garbage, I remind them that there are several other Black coaches in college football who are actually developing good young men and playing smart football and winning. And this is a perfect example of that. Jason, what were your thoughts?
Yeah. Let's see. Yep. I am off of mute. Yeah, man, that game, I was just surprised, man, because there's a possibility USC could lose the game. I thought they would win, and I'm with you. I think they are the better team. They play again, even if it's on a neutral field, I would still take USC. But the fact that Michigan is 6-0 since 2015 when throwing for under 100 yards is unbelievable to me. They only threw for 32 yards. They just kept every time. I was actually refereeing during this game, but as I had my breaks or whatever, and there's a TV real close to me, I'm looking, Michigan just running. To I think they had 260 or 290 yards rushing, and like you said, they just ended up stalling up the clock, and they just ended up barely winning. First Big Ten game for USC. I'm sure USC is going to be in many other great Big Ten games, close Big Ten games. This was another one. I mean, look, I give it to Michigan. I'm happy for the Michigan coach, but if they were to play again, I definitely would take USC again in a heartbeat.
And there's an adjustment to be made. Big Ten football, conference football is different. It is defensive focus and smash mouth and a lot of running, not to the extent that Michigan was doing it,
right?
But that's a smart coach recognizing that he didn't have the horses to play who can run up the score higher contest, and said, you know what, we're going to ground and pound and keep this game relatively low scoring. We're still only 24-27. Still 24-27, but it was a smart thing. It's going to be interesting to see if the USC coaching staff can adjust before the games to this style as opposed to at halftime. Because they got a really big game coming up this week.
Yeah, it's hard because you sort of have to rebuild your team because those teams are built like that because of where they play. They're in the Midwest. So, weather gets cold, snows, bad weather, blah. So they built their team. Whereas in California, you ain't going to build a team like that for USC. You're not going to get no fans to the damn stands running the ball that much. You got to air it out. And plus the weather's better. So you can have a more progressive offense. So that clash of styles is also what makes playing teams like Penn State and Michigan, maybe a Michigan State. Well, even though they suck, but like Michigan State, just the style clash is intriguing. And this was a stalemate. Somebody had to win and just ended up being Michigan.
Congrats to them.
Yep. Is there any other game that caught your attention?
Tennessee, Oklahoma, because we had actually talked about that. I think we both picked Tennessee, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But Tennessee pulled off the win. It was a 6 versus a 15. It was it wasn't a very interesting game to watch, to be honest. It was, they came out and did their thing. They scored a little bit early, and then after that, it was just a field goal contest, right? So, congratulations to Tennessee, but the SEC, when the SEC actually plays good teams, it's by accident, and this is the kind of games they get. So, I will forever wonder why people think the SEC is such a wonderful conference. It has never shown it. And this was just another example of, what happens when number 6 and a number 15 match up. You're expecting fireworks. And they wanted to see who could draft the best kicker, apparently, or recruit the best kicker.
Well, this is Oklahoma's first season in the SEC. And, of course, they're built like a Big 12 team. Yeah, they're built like that. They're not built, for defense or ground and pound or even being physical. They want to air it out 100 times a game. And so you got almost like a clash of styles again in this game. And Tennessee, to me, and to both of us, was the better team in this one. And they ended up winning. So, congrats to them.
The last game that had 2 ranked teams was, we also talked about last week, was Utah, OK State. Yep. I think we both took. No, I took Utah.
Utah, right? Yep.
As kind of a Pac-12 fan, I honestly don't know enough about either of the teams to have been able to make a good educated guess. Other than that, I know that the Pac-12 teams have historically done very well against Big 12 teams,
right?
In bowl games and opportunities where they play. And so based on that, I took Utah. Utah played the better game. It was 22-19. It was close. It was a good battle. But Utah ultimately found a way to win. A 12 versus a 14 early in the season with a 3-point spread. That's good football.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch any of this game. I'm with you. I had very limited. And I know a little bit of Oklahoma State, and a little bit about Utah from being in the Pac-12 and playing against USC and Washington, other teams over the past few years. But I did think Oklahoma State was going to win, and I thought that home field advantage would help. Obviously, it didn't. I think they only scored 19 points. I don't think Utah is great, but it's a good road victory for them against Oklahoma State. Neither do I think Oklahoma State is great either. But we had to make a pick. I picked Oklahoma State. Thankfully, didn't have any money on this game. But Utah ended up winning. Not much to say on this since I didn't watch.
All right.
Anything else?
No, not that week.
Okay.
Let's go to this week.
All right. Let's see. First game on the slate. Let's see. College football this week.
Yeah. Well, Friday night's the first game. I don't know if it's interesting. It's the first game.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's Thursday. It's Army and Temple, but nobody's watching that. So let's do.
No, I ranked teams.
Ranked teams, right? Oh, we got Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Oklahoma State coming off.
No. Friday, September 27th at 4:30 p.m.
There's no 2 ranked teams, just Miami.
University of Miami.
Yes.
Plays Virginia Tech.
I thought you said 2 ranked teams. Go ahead.
Y'all ain't the 7th best team in the country. Come on. They're not the 7th best team in the country. Do you honestly believe that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I really don't. I would love to see. I need to look at Vegas rankings. I trust my rankings
Yeah, I get
usually
that.
ally to Vegas. I haven't looked it up, but no, I don't think Miami's the seventh best team in the country. No, exactly. But sometimes teams lose, they go down, and the
Yeah.
teams that keep winning, you go. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I get it. But
yeah,
I just think seventh is just a very, very overinflated.
yeah.
It's great for those people who are going to, astute bettors who are looking at that Louisville game where they're going to be, 16, 15 to 20 in the rankings. And Miami will keep on blowing through these crappy teams. And they're going to be, top 5, maybe 6, 7. And there's going to be a spread that, well, I think Vegas is smart enough to figure out, but people are going to be very confused by that spread.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be the spread's going to be 3 to 5.5.
Yeah.
And
3 to 4. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 3 to 5. Yeah, somewhere in that 3 to 5.5, or it should be 3 to 5.5. And I think it's going to be like 8 or 9 because of the rankings and the money, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like watching Miami this year because we finally have
a
quarterback.
Points.
No, because we have a quarterback. Cam Ward, he's the best quarterback we've had since Ken Dorsey. Now he's not better than Ken Dorsey, but he's the best quarterback we've had since Ken Dorsey. And the only reason we got him is because he's just trying to improve his draft stock. He was supposedly a 5th round pick or so, 5th or 6th round pick, day 2 pick in NFL draft coming out of Washington State. So he transferred to Miami, try to boost his profile. And of course, $5 million also helps as well, but he wanted to boost his profile and his draft stock. So, I mean,
14 TDs to 2 interceptions is a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it's good. Of course, the competition is, but I've seen him play against competitive teams at Washington State, and he had some inconsistencies and drifted a little bit on his throws and everything, and kind of got a little jittery. So we haven't played one of those kind of teams yet. But that's what I'm looking forward to seeing when we actually play one, how he performs then, because I've seen him play well, and I've seen him play so we'll see. But yeah, so I'm excited.
The only reason to talk about this game though is to try and have you pick it against the spread.
Oh, I'll take Virginia Tech. I'll take the 19.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't take I've watched a lot of Miami games on these Thursday and Friday nights, and from what I remember, they hardly ever cover the spread on these games. They come in with a lot of, they talk about the past and blah, 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 and get people all excited, and they watch the game. It's like, and a lot of times they've lost these games. Now, I'm not saying we're going to lose to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is really not that good, but 19.5 is going to be a lot for a Friday night game for, a group of players who really haven't been in the kind of spotlight or whatever, or had a target on their back or whatever. So yeah, I'm taking the 19.5.
For grins and giggles, I will take Virginia Tech. I think that Miami knows how to run up the score, understands the assignment, and is going to continue to do this so that when it comes time to look at their work at the end of the season, and they don't have quality wins because they haven't played a lot of quality teams, they'll be able to stand on the 72,000 points that they've scored versus all these other opponents. So I think
that's a good way to look at it.
I think that the game plan for them is to just keep their foot down because they know they're not going to have quality wins. So they just need a lot of points and the point differential.
And teams do that. What Brian said, there are teams that do that. They come out specifically just to run up the score and try to make their standing look good for voters. Yeah. So that's true. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Any other game on the?
So on Saturdays is the first Big Ten game of the season for Wisconsin and the second Big Ten of the season for USC. This is a big game. Not because Wisconsin's a top 25 team, but they're not. But it's because this is, what they wish was their first game in the Big Ten, but it's their second game in the Big Ten. This will determine whether or not USC has figured out how to play Big Ten football. There is no reason why USC shouldn't win this game and win it convincingly. We'll talk about the spread. It's big, I know. But USC should win this game and win it convincingly in fashion. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do that. It'll tell us whether or not they're figuring out Big Ten football. And I'm going to like watching this one. That being said, the spread is USC minus 15.5. That's a big number in Big Ten football. So Jason, what are your thoughts and what do you think about that? Who do you pick on the spread?
So this game is interesting to me, not because Wisconsin's a good football team. It's interesting because I want to see. So remember, Baltimore Ravens played Kansas City, And that was a physical game for Baltimore, and it kind of took a toll of them against the Raiders, and they ended up losing that game. They weren't, sharp, crisp, whatever you want to put it, in top physical condition for that game. I want to see how USC responds to getting ran on by Michigan. I want to know if that took a physical toll on them. And if it did, Wisconsin has a chance. Not saying they would win, but if I had to blindly bet this game, I would pick Wisconsin plus the 15.5, only because I don't know how USC is going to respond after playing that type of game against Michigan. That's the only reason. What about you?
So I agree with everything you just said, but I'm still going the other side for the same kind of rationale I had with Miami. If at any point in time USC smells blood in the water, they're going to throw it often. They're going to try and figure out before the weather gets bad. They want to get a quality win against a Big Ten team. If they can figure out how to get the ball in the air against Wisconsin, they are going to try and run up this score again because they want to be able to point to these types of wins early in the season against quality opponents like Wisconsin is. I'm not saying they're top 25. They're still a quality opponent that has plays real teams in real football. So there's that.
Okay. All right. And then before we get to Alabama, Georgia, do you have any thoughts on Louisville playing at Notre Dame? It's the 15. Louisville's ranked number 15. Notre Dame's ranked number 16, but Notre Dame is at home and they're favored by 6.5 in this game. You got any thoughts on this?
Wait, so who's favorite? You said,
Notre Dame's at home, and
Notre Dame's at home favorite at 6.5.
Yeah, and they're lower. You want to say?
Yeah, they're 16 versus a 15.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at the lineup of the teams that Louisville has got this 15 ranking: Georgia Tech, Jax State. I didn't say Jackson State. State,
Jacksonville
Austin,
State.
Yeah, and Austin.
Wait. I don't want to interrupt you. Do you know? Don't look it up. Do you know where Jacksonville State is? What state it's in?
Well, obviously, it's not Florida because otherwise you wouldn't have been asking the question. So I'm going to go with Mississippi.
Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I can sense the trick question.
Right. You're like, where's that?
So here's the thing. I'm going to go Notre Dame. I mean, I know it's only one spot in the rankings, but Louisville has played nobody. And they haven't been blowing them out like Miami has. Yep. So I get that Notre Dame is the lower ranked team, but they've got quality wins against top ranked opponents. Texas A&M, their opening game, 23-13. Purdue is better than Austin P. So I'm going to have some confidence in Notre Dame and say that they're going to be able to win this game, and they'll do it by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think the atmosphere in Notre Dame would just be too much. Louisville is really not a really very good road team, especially in atmospheres like this and stadiums like this. I got Notre Dame as well, even though they're the lower, I guess, ranked team and they're 3-1. I'm taking Notre Dame. I'm with you on that. Now, the big one. Now, let me start with this one. Georgia is at Alabama. The last time I looked at the spread when it first came out, Georgia was favored by 2.5 at Alabama. In my opinion, this is a WTF game. The wrong team is favored. I think Alabama should be the team that's favored in this game by 2.5 or 3 points. The spread right now, I'm looking, it's still 2.5. Okay, so I'm taking Alabama in this one. I know Georgia's won all these national championships, and they got all these people that went to the NFL, blah blah blah. I like Kalen DeBoer when he was at Washington. He has a different team in Alabama. That's not the same. He doesn't have like a thrower like he had in Penix. He has Monroe's more of a runner, good dual threat quarterback, but he's more of a runner. So this team dynamic is different from Alabama than it was from Washington. He still has his team at 3-0. They're playing really good football. And I think that Georgia can't really, because this is not Nick Saban coach team. So they can't really prepare what Kalen DeBoer probably has in store or his offense or whatever. So I think Alabama has an advantage there because it's unfamiliarity. And they're at home. I'm going to take Alabama in this one to win outright without the spread. What about you?
So here's the problem with this. And I think the reason why it's like Georgia's obviously been dominant. There's so much money on them that it's going to impact point spreads, and you're going to get something that's on a lopsided. I agree with you that Alabama should be favored, especially in a week where, what was it, Kentucky State, or Kentucky took Georgia and gave them all they could. They only won 13-12, right? I get all of that. These are two teams I hate, right? I don't want to root for either of these two teams to win.
Yes.
You know how much I dislike the SEC.
Yeah.
These are the two teams that are the crowning examples of people who have built up entire seasons playing cupcakes and then preparing, doing a 12-week preseason before having to play a bowl game and call themselves a national champion. So if I could vote for the refs in a game, I'd vote for the refs in this game. Yeah, I'm gonna rock with you. I do think Alabama is the hotter team.
Yep.
I don't know that they're better or worse.
Right.
I think it's a tough situation because Georgia has had a great record against Alabama, but it's a different coach, it's a different point in time, and the WTF moment is what happened last week with Georgia only being able to beat a very, very mediocre Kentucky by 1 point. They don't seem like they're world beaters to me. I'll go take Alabama.
Okay. All right. Is there any other game on the college football schedule you want to talk about?
Not really. I mean, Illinois is playing Penn State. Penn State's a 19-point favorite. They're both ranked, but clearly nobody cares.
Yeah, right. That part. It's Illinois. Let's go there. Let's start there. But yeah. Okay.
Here's a fun one. Washington State versus Boise State.
I was just looking at that. that.
They're close. The coaching staffs have actually, they've worked together before. This is, a few hour drive apart between the Cougs. The Cougars are 4-0, another Pac-12 team, and Boise State is ranked 25th, even though they're only 2-1. Yep. Boise is favored by 7.5.
Yes.
What you got?
Yeah. Right now I'm looking at the weather in Boise for Saturday. Hold on, Boise. The weather on Saturday.
Sunny.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
70.
be 91. Yep. Okay. I'm taking Washington State plus the points. So one thing when betting in college football, I never take the 25th ranked team as a favorite of more than a touchdown. I just don't. It's just a rule that I have because that 25th ranking could be a bunch of teams. It's arbitrary and they pick one. They, of course, have to pick one. And so people think, oh, they're ranked. The other team is not ranked. They must be a lot better than the other one. And that's not necessarily true. I'm getting more than a touchdown here. Washington State is really not a bad team. I watched them play a couple times this year. Undefeated. Yeah, and they're 4-0. I think I watched them when I was down at your house for the first weekend football season. I watched them. They're not a bad team. Boise State is okay. I think these teams are about even, Brian, to be perfectly honest with you, because I watched Boise State when I was down there with you. So I think the spread should be maybe 3 or 4 points, and it's not. I'm catching 7.5. I'm taking Washington State.
So I don't think these teams are even. I think Washington State is demonstrably better than Boise State. So the quarterback for Washington State has 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns. The quarterback for Boise State, Madsen, has 916 and 5 touchdowns. So he's, 616. So he's literally got half the yardage and half the touchdowns. They obviously, so you could look at their run game. You would assume that they're a running team, except for their top running back only has 600 yards to the rushing yards of Washington State, which is at 425 yards. And then again, on the wide receiver side, there's a big difference between, it seems to me that statistically, quality of the competition, 4-0, they're 4 games into the season versus 3, that actually does kind of matter a little bit. I don't see any reason why Boise State should be favored at all, yet alone by 7.5 points. This is easy to say I would rock with Washington State and take the points.
Yeah, so last week I gave out Marshall plus 40 against Ohio State. They covered that spread. I'm giving out this, and this is what I'm going to take. I'm going to bet Washington State plus the 7.5, probably get it up to 8 and take Boise against Boise State. So that'll be a bet. All right, so that is college football for this upcoming week. Let's move to the NFL from last week, where this season has been kind of crazy, man. It's like the quarterback plays kind of dropped off so far overall. Teams that people thought were good, they kind of got slow starts. But the game I want to start with, and I know I kind of teased at the beginning of the show. I didn't tease it. I was just in a hurry to talk about it. It was Carolina Panthers getting their first win against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Brian, I'm gonna have to start with this one. I'm not talking trash. I'm just going, putting the facts out there.
We're going to, by the way, just so you know, you and I
Yep.
are going to disagree. I know where you're going with this, and I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to tell
Okay.
you that ahead of time before you've even said anything.
Okay. All right. So people are always talking about this. Is one of the most overused words in sports, and I hate it. When people make excuses for quarterbacks, he doesn't have any weapons. He doesn't have any weapons, and I've said it repeatedly. The quarterback makes the receiver. The receiver does not make the quarterback. All I've heard is Carolina doesn't have weapons. Andy Dalton comes in here and is the first quarterback this year to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a game. Why nobody's talking about the lack of weapons that Carolina has, because Andy Dalton seemed to use them pretty effectively against the Raiders. And then on the flip side, the Raiders, what they score 7 points this past game. The Raiders are going to be offensively challenged. I've said this repeatedly all season. So to give
they
up,
scored 22 in the end.
They scored 22. Yeah. Okay, because it was like 33-7 at one point. Okay, so to give up 30 points to Carolina and Andy Dalton, that's inexcusable. You just can't do that. It kind of reminded me when Baker Mayfield had 2 days of practice and he beat the Raiders, and then it reminded me when Jeff Saturday was making his coaching debut. 4 days after getting the job with the Colts, and they beat the Raiders. It's like you could talk about whatever the Raiders are ascending. To me, it's just the same old Raiders. I mean, I don't see anything getting better. I don't see anything getting worse. This is kind of like the same, but I think a loss like this is kind of inexcusable. Now, people can say, yeah, they beat Baltimore the last week, so maybe they were on an emotional high or whatever. Whatever the case may be, you cannot lose to Carolina, because even though they got this victory, Carolina's still a bad team. What did you think about this game, Brian?
So I actually agreed with almost everything you said until the last sentence you said, which is that Carolina is just a bad team. So I watched every snap of this game, and Carolina looked like a good team. They're not going to make playoff team or anything like that. They look like a good team with Andy Dalton.
They look competent to you with Andy Dalton. Okay.
Deontay Johnson made play after play where he caught hard balls that were perfectly thrown by Dalton. But it's not easy to get the corner throw over the back shoulder on a deep pass. It's not easy to pass that ball. It's not easy to catch that ball. And Deontay Johnson did it numerous times. He also did it short in the end zone on a little fade route, which was a very, very good play. And then you got Chuba Hubbard, who's had 160 something total yards, over 100 yards on the ground, who looked like the player we thought we were seeing develop last year. But here's the thing, Andy Dalton, they were talking. This is all stuff I read after. I didn't know about it this before, but they were saying all camp that he looked really good, but they felt like they had to give Bryce Young his shot because that was the guy they invested in, which is now that they had the quick hook, and you see what Andy Dalton does, it's a very, very strong justification. He looked like a good quarterback who understood how to play the game. Now, he's still a statue, but he was able to make the passes to players who were in the right position. And I think the fact that Andy Dalton, who's on nobody's top 10 list anywhere, being as good as he was, with Bryce Young being as bad as he was earlier, I think cements Bryce Young's legacy as dead in the water. So I think we mostly agree. I don't think Carolina is going to look that bad. If you watch them the first 2 games, and for survivor pools, I actually won mine because of this. It was whoever played Carolina all season long until you lose, right? Yeah. I would not do that strategy going forward. I think they have the ability to win games, and we can even talk about them playing the winless Bengals this week. Yeah. Because I think that'll be an interesting matchup. But for right now, I was impressed. I thought that Andy Dalton showed he still has signs of life, and credit to him for making Bryce Young's career go away.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Dalton will give you a game or two. I mean, he will give you that, but he will go back to looking like Andy Dalton. So I think Bryce Young will be back starting, later this year, just not right now or in the near future. I think
only an injury does it. I don't think they'll pull him for skill. So. Yeah, because I think the coaches, if you pull your player this early in the season, you've told that player you don't have any confidence in them.
Okay.
If Andy doesn't get hurt, I think he's got the job for the whole season. He's old. He's a statue. He could get hurt.
Yeah, and he plays the Bengals next week, as you said. We'll get into that later, but a revenge game for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. All right. You know what? Before we get to the Niners, because I have thoughts on that, let's go to Minnesota playing Houston. We both had Minnesota, but damn, Brian Flores, man. Look, I don't know if he's ever going to get a head coaching job again because he doesn't get along with offensive people. But damn, his defense, jeez, man. He played C.J. Stroud, and before he played Brock Purdy. Both of them said that Brian Flores did things they ain't never seen before.
And they caught him on NFL film. One of the quarterbacks running up to him afterwards saying, "Your scheme is ridiculous," like as a compliment.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy. So I know you enjoyed it, man. You guys are 3-0 right now, unexpectedly 3-0. So give me your thoughts first on the Minnesota Vikings.
This was a big kind of return thing. So Danielle Hunter's on the other team.
Yep.
Grieger is on our free agent pickup on the line is on our team. It was a Grinkle. And there was all types of like little things going on. Diggs was on the other team, Justin Jefferson on our team, and Minnesota put a foot in their backside, and looked very, very good doing it. The Kevin O'Connell last year, I said it numerous times, I thought his offense was very predictable. It has been very mixed up. It has been hard to get a measure on what they're doing. They do play they play better when they have good field position. They're not a good team for making real long drives, because they weren't this week, but they turned the defensive stiffness and prowess into opportunities, and they seized them. And that is all you can ask the team to do. On the defense, as you already said, they look lights out. So I actually watched this IG video where a young man was talking about how the Vikings have kind of a perfect situation, because there's no football reason why Brian Flores should not be a top head coach option next year.
Yeah.
But because of his issues, his history, the cantankerous thing, it's highly likely that no one will touch him at least for another year. Yep. Which is great for us, because we may actually be able to get 2 seasons when any other coordinator has a year like Brian Flores is having and had towards the end of last year would be snapped up. It would be a done deal. Yeah. So our secret weapon is there. I'm really liking Aaron Jones. Jefferson still looks great. And I got a couple little stats for you.
Go ahead.
For the folks. So Sam Darnold leads the NFL in touchdowns with 8. Cool. And he's also top 3 in QB rating. Yep. And he just looks good. To the 49ers credit, when he was asked why he looks like a new man this season, he credited his time with the 49ers and in that locker room as helping him figure out how to play in the pros. Yep. Versus, he said, he liked his time in Carolina, and Carolina apparently liked him. But he said he kind of was comparing it to the Jets, where he was like, yeah, they just got to throw you out there and see what happens next. So he credited his success so far this season with his time in the 49ers locker room. The 49ers have had lots of nice things to say. So, I will remind people that before the season, I said, I'm not sure I believe in the Vikings, but the Vikings clearly believe in the Vikings, and they're making decisions. And it's because they saw in Sam Darnold what we couldn't see just yet. He's playing solid football, and he looks good doing it.
Yeah, he does look good. Like, he's been very decisive. Kevin, this guy, your coach, is the only coach who actually knows how to manage Darnold and use his strengths in the game. Darnold's, I'm not saying he's overly talented, but he has some strengths, and your coach, Kevin O'Connell, is bringing it out of him. And this is what you're getting.
Pretty deep ball.
Yeah. So this is what you're getting. So yeah, good for Sam Darnold. I never, I never thought Sam Darnold was good, but I never disliked the guy. But I'm happy he's having a resurgent career with the Vikings. I don't have any thoughts on the game. You pretty much summed up everything. I guess we'll move over to the 49ers blowing a 10-point lead against the Rams. My feelings about this game. Look, slow starts, nothing new. 2 years ago they were 3-4, and the year before that they were 2-4 to start the season. They made it to the NFC title games both years, but this year is different. And it has nothing to do with the offensive players missing, McCaffrey, Debo, whatever, Ayuk and Trent Williams, taking off camp to try to get money. And no, the problem is not Brock Purdy, who had a very good game. No Debo, no McCaffrey, whatever. Almost 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 131.7 passer rating. But they had 6 drops. The receivers had 6 drops. The problem with this 49ers team, and I said it 2 years ago, a lot of times I said it 2 years ago, this defense is overrated. It's currently the third worst third down defense in the NFL. Opponents are converting 52.9% of third downs. And I saw it against Minnesota. When Minnesota had that drive, I said it. When Jefferson was off the field and Addison was off the field, and they just went down the field and scored. I think it was 90-something yards, and then they gave up that bomb to Justin Jefferson. Like, what's the point of having safeties if you're going to let a play like that happen? I saw it then. This defense it's a bottom 5 defense right now. And the special teams not good either. It's a bottom 5 special teams. We're number 5 offense, but bottom 5 in defense, bottom 5 in special teams. That's not going to get it done. And I really hate to say it, but I said it when he first got hired. Brandon Staley is now, helping run the defense, and now we're looking like the damn Chargers last year. Their defense or whatever. But
you picked them to the Super Bowl one year.
I really did, but he wasn't the coach. But I think he was the coach, Brian. But yeah. And then so look, it's the defense, and I hate to say it, 49er fans, if you're listening to this game, we're going to have to be carried by Brock Purdy this year. If you're relying on defense and running, it's just not going to happen. Shanahan's going to have to give the keys to Purdy, and we just have to just live and die with him. If you saw Trent Williams like I did, he was on the sideline needing an IV. That's what happens when you don't go to camp. Ayuk, he definitely isn't there yet. This is why I always say you can't just hold out of camp, come and get your money and think you're going to come back balling. The NFL does not work like that. It's disrespectful to even think you can even do that when players are putting in, the time and effort and energy they're doing. You think you're just going to come off the streets and kill it. It's going to take them some time to kind of get back. 49ers should have won this game. Those drops were brutal because those passes were right there. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a game like that where so many drops right in their hands. But overall, look, the Rams won. I know they're happy. They should be. Bad loss for the 49ers, but we'll see what happens next week. They play the Patriots, and I think everybody should get well against them. Did you watch the game, Brian? Any thoughts on it?
I did. No, I'm going to respond to one thing that you said. You said they're going to have to give the keys to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has consistently proven he's not the guy you give the keys to win. Whether it is causation or correlation, he does not win games without his stars. So when you see Kittle out, when you see those guys, I'm not saying one thing's related to the other. I actually agree with you that it's not about the absences. I'm just saying causation or correlation, it correlates quite well that he does not win games when he does not have his star players.
Do you blame this game on him?
No.
Okay.
No, I think the defense is more to blame for this loss than anything else.
Right.
But I'm just saying when you can correlate historically over the couple of years that he's been there, he does not. He has trouble winning the games when he doesn't have his star players. Now, here's a couple of things. This was a big stat in week 1. So after the week 1 win, the 49ers became the only team in the Super Bowl era to have a 200-yard passing game, Purdy, 125-yard rushing game from Mason, a 50-yard receiving game from Jennings, and an interception, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, in the same game from players who were drafted 200th or later. And everyone was talking about, not everyone, some people were talking about it's because the GM is doing such a great job of finding gems. That is not wrong. That is actually 100% correct. That is an awesome stat. Fast forward a couple weeks when they've had a couple of losses. And the problem is that they're now expecting that kind of performance from players who were drafted 200th or later to be consistent. And the thing about players that are drafted 200th and later is most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, they can't be consistent. And if you need consistency from 4 of those players, you're looking for too much, right? And so they need some of those top guys, the tight end, the running back, Debo, Ayuk, they need those guys to be in there and be Not all of them all the time, but they need to be amongst the players that have top stats for that team, for them to be able to muscle through against teams that have that level of talent scattered throughout. Like I said, it's a great stat when you win, but it's also a telling stat when you lose. And week 1, when it happened, everyone's touting it. Week 4, after a couple of losses, it's not. It doesn't ring the same way.
So let me ask you this: do you think more of a guy like Joe Burrow, who's 0-3 with Jamar Chase, than you think of Brock Purdy, who's 1-2 without, Kittle and Debo and all those other people?
Again, I don't blame Purdy. I just don't think Purdy's the guy that you can put it on his shoulders. I think the reason the 49ers have had problems is on defense. The defense did not look good against the Vikings. The defense did not allow the Rams to beat them. I think that's the reason why they lost. There's nothing to knock on Purdy. I just don't think he has a skill set that you can say, you know who does? Let's talk about this. Josh Allen has a skill set.
He does.
If you had to put him in there and say, my defense sucks, but go win me the football game, Josh Allen could do that for you. And it's a rare. He has
the physical ability. Yeah, he does.
That he will go over there. He will run for 100 yards. He will throw for 4 touchdowns. He will do whatever it takes. And the defense can still suck. And you will win 35-27 or 28 or whatever it is, because he's got that type. I just don't think Purdy has that. Again, I'm not trying to knock. I usually do.
No, I get you. I get what
I'm
you're
not
saying.
trying to knock him. I just don't think he has that.
Yeah, and the only reason I brought up Joe Burrow is because I saw a stat today, Brian, to be perfectly honest with you, of their first 24 starts, and all of his stats are better than Joe Burrow. That's why I said that. But the thing is, we have to see it. But the thing is, if you're going to rely on running and shortening the game, and we're doing whatever we're doing, it's just not going to work. This team is going to have to play like the Patriots did when we were at your old house watching the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles that year. And New England's defense was terrible. Everybody was crying about how Michael Butler got benched or whatever, and people didn't see him play. It was terrible. But Tom Brady, of course, we all know he's great enough to carry a team with a bad defense. Now, they didn't win Super Bowl, but he has the ability to do that. He got him there. They're going to have to go that route with Brock Purdy if they even want a chance. And I'm not saying it's going to work, but I think they're going to have to go because his defense is not good. It's just not, Brian. I'm sorry. I've seen too many.
And you have to be worried. We didn't talk about it. You have to be worried that they put McCaffrey on the IR, adding the 4 weeks to his time, which to me says if they were as comfortable as they were putting him on that IR, that I don't think this is a 4-week injury. I think this is a 6. This is a 6+. Yeah. And he's in Germany. Getting shots in the ankle.
Doing that Kobe thing. Treatments. Exactly. Yeah. Hey, look, Brian, when they first talked about the way they were talking about it and how he wasn't even practicing at all, and they said he wasn't going to be ready for week 1, I thought it was going to be a whole season thing, to be perfectly honest. They're just not saying anything. I think they're just going to keep putting his time about 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. It's going to go another 4 weeks. I don't think he's going to play too many games this year. I would say he plays less than 5, to be perfectly honest with you, if he plays at all.
If you all have a winning record, he could come in late in the season and maybe try and help out. If you guys have a losing record, they will shut him down.
Right. Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to talk about next real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you know that since the Madden curse disappeared, there is a new curse?
Mm-hmm.
The new curse is that whoever is the presumptive favorite to be the top pick based in fantasy football is cursed. So here's what you look at. 2018, Saquon Barkley went absolutely nuts. 2019, Saquon Barkley was the number 1 pick in almost finished draft. He finished with injuries and was finished at running back 48.
Okay.
In 2020 and 2021, so that year in 2019, McCaffrey was the best player in Carolina. In 2020 and 2021, where he was the top pick in both of those years for fantasy football, he only played 10 games total for 2 seasons.
Yep.
In 2021, Jonathan Taylor came on the scene, blew up, and everyone was talking about how wonderful he was. In 2022, he ran for less than 1,000 yards due to injuries and just general malaise.
Yep.
In 2022, Justin Jefferson was the best, most dynamic player in fantasy football and the number 1 pick, even though he's a wide receiver. In 2023, he was out almost more than half the season last season.
Yeah.
In 2023, Christian McCaffrey did what Christian McCaffrey did, won the MVP. He was the pick that everyone had first in fantasy football this year, and look where he is. So
but
for the last
but didn't I
6
say though
years,
he was going to get hurt? I just say he was going
you
to
didn't have to say he got. You said he was going to get hurt before when he was already hurt. We didn't know, but I'm just saying the injury had already happened.
I said last season overusage. He's going to get hurt this year. I just know it was going to happen. So that's why I'm not really tripping off of it. I knew this was going to happen. Yeah. That's what happens. You overuse them, but yeah.
But the top pick curse is real.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's real. That's you just educated me on that. I did not know. I didn't think about that. But you started rattling off names. So yeah,
it goes back to 2018. It's not like it's going back one season. It's going back to 2018.
Right. That's good stuff. Well, look here. I'm gonna get off my loss, and I'm gonna get on the Cowboys' loss. That was something I like seeing. Look, whenever Cowboys play against a physical team, Green Bay was physical, they lost. Baltimore beat them. The 49ers usually always beat them. I see them lose to another team, another physical team too. The Saints, I think it was. Saints were being physical. Dallas is a soft team. And they have a lot of hype, but that is a soft team. You hit them in the mouth in that first half, you're going to get all the yards you want in the second half. And Baltimore, good for them. They got their first win and happened against the Cowboys. I think the game was in Dallas as well. Baltimore was actually favored. So I think everybody pretty much knew Baltimore was the better team going in. I'm just happy to see the Cowboys lose. I really don't care who it's against. It just happened to be against Baltimore, and Derrick Henry, he did his thing against them. Did you see the game, Brian?
I did. This was a great game going down the stretch. I mean, I also was not rooting for the Cowboys, and everyone knows I like the Ravens, but the Cowboys were doing everything they could to come back late, and they just ran out of time. Yeah. Michigan USC, I guess, because 19 points in the fourth quarter. It looked like it was going to go the wrong way. Yeah. But it was nice to see Derrick Henry used. We talked about this last week, that they weren't using Derrick Henry the right way. You have to run him early. You have to run him often, because he's at his best in the second half after he's bruised up the other team. And he ended up with 151 yards and 2 touchdowns this week. And that's because they started using him the right way. The same way, we'll probably talk about it in a minute, that Saquon Barkley has been getting used all throughout this season. That is what you do with workhorse running backs. You're paying kind of money that they're paying them. You use them early and often, and that's how you win games late.
Yeah. The Cowboys are built. People probably don't know this, but the Cowboys are built to play with a lead. They're not built to come from behind. They can get close, but they're not built. They're built to play with a lead, and then use them edge rushers that they have to get after quarterbacks. And when they don't get leads, it's not good. Any thoughts, Brian? On okay, so I'm gonna have to take an L on this one. It's not going too well for Chicago.
So I have thoughts on this.
Look, if you can't run on the Colts, because the Colts' run defense is terrible. If you can't run on them, it's bad. I mean, the Chicago is offensively challenged. These first halves where they go scoreless or score no points. Now, Caleb Williams got a little better this week. He's getting a little better, every single week. But
better, I thought, actually.
But he had 363 yards his first couple touchdowns of the year. Good for him. But my thing is, I thought they will be able to run the ball at least against the Colts, and they couldn't do it. 63 yards rushing, man. That's pitiful. I think, to be honest with you, Brian, I'm not this conspiracy person, whatever. I think Lincoln Riley, you're going to start hearing Lincoln Riley to the Bears rumors, pretty soon, like probably by halfway, week 8, week 9 this season. I think that's going to become a real thing. Did you watch this game? What do you think about it?
I think Lincoln Riley makes more money than he could make with the Bears, so it'll have to be if USC gets a few losses and they're trying to get rid of him. But yeah. So yeah, I glanced this game. This was on one of the TVs, but it wasn't the game that I was obviously focusing on. I did think that Caleb Williams took 2 massive steps forward. I still think that they were massive steps forwards in the zone of incompetence, but they were steps forward towards the exit of the area of incompetence, because he did all of this against a really bad Colts team who got their first win. And he also did it with 2 interceptions, and they lost the game. So while I think that he showed that he has the ability to throw games in a practice situation, which is pretty much what this game should have been, it's very interesting. The Bears they are what I thought they were. Remember, I had them coming in dead last. Even with the Vikings, and I had the Vikings and Green Bay kind of like in the middle. But anyways, I think they are what I thought they were. I just don't see what this offense can do with the players that they have, with the coaching that they have. And I just will never be supportive of players who are talking, like I said, he texted the punter when he got drafted and said, "You're not going to have to worry about punting too much. Just shut the hell up and go watch a film." Right. But anyways, I have a question for you about and I don't want you to think that the answer is based on when I'm asking it, because I meant to ask it earlier. Who do you think the next starting quarterback to get benched will be?
The next starting quarterback. Well, here, let me go through some teams here. Brissett could be a candidate, not Watson. Levis, I don't know if they got anybody. Chicago, no. I'm just looking through all these teams here. New Orleans, no. Pittsburgh, Chargers, no. Denver, no. Tampa Bay, Carolina, Vegas, Miami, Seattle, Baltimore, Dallas, and Rams, no.
I'm going to narrow it down to 2 teams, and you can tell me which one you think.
Okay, go ahead.
Colts, who have
Anthony Richardson.
Richardson, or the Raiders. And there's a reason why I'm asking you.
Raiders.
You know what my answer is. And Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I would say Raiders.
So I agree with you. And if you remember at the beginning of the season, I was talking about why I thought Gardner Minshew was going to be the quarterback. And it was because he was more exciting. He'll chuck it up. He'll throw interceptions. But if you look at that game, when Aiden O'Connell came in, you said, it was 36-7 or 3 or something like that. And I said, 37 points. They scored that with Aiden O'Connell, who just looks like he knows how to manipulate the offense a little bit better. I don't know that it's going to happen immediately. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. It might happen mid-game this week. But I think at some point in time, the team is going to say, hey, this defense is okay. And while the excitement is wonderful and gets people in seats, I want to win some damn football games. And I can do that better with a good defense in Aiden O'Connell than I can with a good defense in Gardner Minshew. And I think he's the next one.
Has he been named a starter?
No.
No, okay, because they play Cleveland, so that should be a winnable game.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think if he gets benched in the fourth, if Minshew gets benched again in the fourth quarter, I think that's the end of his time as a starting quarterback for the time being. But I also think Anthony Richardson is real close to getting that Bryce Young.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts on Philly, New Orleans? I had Philly in my point spread league. I mean, I know New Orleans has been playing well, but I want to say field goal game, right?
An ugly game. Like 15-12 from a Super Bowl contender and, a team that was playing pretty hot, was 2-0. The only takeaway is I really like watching Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry on new teams that use them, because Saquon Barkley is just an absolute beast when he's running the ball, and it's fun to watch him play. But the rest of this game kind of stunk. Okay.
Yeah. You know how I feel about Philly. I just think they're overrated. But just wanted your thoughts on that. I had Philly plus 2.5. But Jalen Hurts has had a turnover 18 in the last 22 games. I think that's actually something. I didn't know he had that many.
We got to get it moving.
Yeah. I'm gonna say one thing. I'm gonna give props to a team that's in my division that I don't like, but I got to give it props. Is Mike McDonald, the ex-Baltimore defense coordinator. He got that defense in Seattle killing it. I mean, I don't want to play Seattle right now, to be perfectly honest with you. They're playing really well. Their defense is going up, while Baltimore is going down. Okay, you want to move into next week?
I want to say one other thing related to the same game. Hats off to Zach Charbonnet, a family member of mine, for having his first start with Walker out and running for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Good for him.
He is not going to be the super speedy, game breaker type guy, but he's consistent. He runs hard, and he got 2 touchdowns, and it was fun to watch. The last thing I'll also say is I don't know what to make of the Lions. So watching them against the Cardinals, where they were only able to beat them by 7. Cardinals team that actually played really well last week. I'm not convinced they're bad. I'm not convinced they're good. It's just very, very interesting to see what's going on there. And if they keep on staying in neutral from a standings perspective, they're 2-1 now. Green Bay, who might get love back as soon as this week, or even the Vikings could possibly find a way to get the division win. I'm not saying either of those teams are better, but I'm saying if the Lions stay at neutral and they stay with the pack and they don't start creating some distance down the stretch, it'll be an injury game. And if the Vikings or the pack of Green Bay get healthy, those teams could seize the top spot in that division.
Yeah, the Lions are starting to run more too.
And the last thing I want to say is I'm just sick and tired of watching the Chiefs play football, because like I'm not a Chiefs fan at all. Like I actually, but and I'm not a Falcons fan at all.
Right.
But it was obvious that there were a million times where those refs did not do what they were paid to do. And it's just frustrating to see it happen so consistently for one team in one direction. That is literally the video that they should show next season on what a PI is in the end zone. He did not look back. He ran through the player, and that was the game, because that would have been first and goal where they were able to get it with 4 downs to get in there. Instead, they had to take a field goal and try and get an onside kick, which we all know doesn't happen anymore. That was the game. The refs were the difference. It's just annoying. Like, I don't even want to. It's a waste of time to watch a football game with a foregone conclusion for things that aren't football related.
Yeah, I just sent you the picture of that. I'm with you. I thought that was an easy pass interference call. And I don't know, I'm the last person to blame referees, but there's obviously a bias for the Chiefs. And I'm not one to say that.
It's
I never
3
say
weeks
stuff like that.
in a row
yes,
that this is going
it's
on.
happening every single. It happens Super Bowl, happens regular season games. Like, why don't you call the game the same way you're calling it against the other team? That's all I'm saying. If that's a pass interference every single day of the week, like you said, that should probably be in the rule book. This is a pass interference. You did everything that you're not supposed to do, and it wasn't called. And I'm with you. It's like, I'm tired of these double standard calls. If you're going to call it one way, call it on the Chiefs as well. And for some reason, they just do not do it. It's almost like that whole Michael Jordan NBA thing. But whatever.
Right. So we're gonna have to. We're going to have to do a few of these fast. We can take our time with a couple, but we're going to move to the next week. So let's start with let's
go with Green Bay, Minnesota.
I was going to say let's take our time with our two.
Yeah.
So Vikings and Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is favored by 2.5 at home
with Malik Willis.
There's rumors that Love is going to try his comeback this week,
okay,
which I think have impacted the line a little bit.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I told you all at the beginning of the season, I'm not trying to say that the Vikings are the best team. I think they are playing very, very good. I think they're going to take advantage of Malik Willis if he's going to play. I think they're going to take advantage of Love being hobbled if he's going to play. If I'm the Packers, I would rather take the loss and leave Love outside of Flores' defense, because Flores and that defense is the kind of defense that can take this 3-week injury and turn it into a full season injury. And they don't play dirty. The Vikings actually go out of their way not to play dirty, but they hit hard, they are aggressive, they sack players, they're blitzing all the time. And this is not the time to put Love out there thinking you can steal a win this early in the season. It is way more important to give him the extra week, give him the time, and put him in a situation that he has a better chance. So I'm going to say that they're smart enough to figure this out. That means it's going to be Malik Willis, and I think the Flores defense is going to run him ragged. So I'm going to take the Vikings and 2.5 points. I'm shocked by this spread.
Yeah, me too. Love doesn't move the needle for me like that to make a spread like this, even if there are rumors that he's going to play. But I think it'll be a stupid decision to play against this defense the way this defense has been playing to start this season. I'm taking Minnesota plus the 2.5 easily this game. If it's Willis, I think this
I'd
game
take the money line if I were a betting person.
Yes, definitely. I'll definitely have sprinkled some on the money line as well. Willis will not be able to figure if CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy had issues against Brian Flores' defenses. Even though they were at home, still the same defense coordinator and same players. Willis is definitely going to struggle. I've seen him struggle against a lot worse defense coordinators than this. So it'd be stupid to bring Love out there against his defense. I'm taking Minnesota easily. I have no problem with that line.
All right, let's take some time and go to yours. 2 1-2 teams. Patriots coming to the 49ers. San Francisco is favored by 10 points.
Yeah, so
1-2 team against 1-2 team favored by 10 points.
Yes, this is the first double-digit spread all year. Look, I don't know if the 49ers are going to cover the spread, but I would definitely take – if they lose this game, the season to me is over. You cannot lose to this New England team. They're really not that good. They're definitely offensively challenged. I think if I had to bet, I would take the 49ers on the spread, but I'm not going to bet the spread. The Patriots are We still don't know what they are yet. Their offensive line, though, their Achilles heel is their offensive line. Their offensive line is really, really bad, and Brissett has taken a lot of hits. So if they can't hold up against the 49ers defensive line or whatever, it's going to be definitely a blowout and a rough day for the Patriots. I think the 49ers should be able to score 27 points in this game fairly easy. So I'll take the 49ers in this one. But like I said, if they lose to the Patriots, the season is over. You can't lose
And
to a
give
team
up the
like
points.
this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to give up the points. I'm not betting it, but yeah, I would definitely give up the points if I had to. What about you?
I would do the same. I think Kittle comes back. I think Debo is looking more like he won't come back this week. Purdy needs one weapon. That can be Kittle. They can focus on that. Mason plays well, especially when they can give him a little bit of space. And he's, so they just need a little bit of balance. And if they get Kittle back and they have people going. Actually, Juwan Jennings is their leading wide receiver this year. But anyways, if they have those types of players, I think they can win this, and I think win by 10. All right, so let's go through a few more of these quickly.
Well, what about Vegas and Cleveland? Let's go about that way. It's Las Vegas -2 against Cleveland. Who do you like?
I like Vegas Cleveland, and I like it to be the end of Gardner Minshew's time as the starting quarterback. I don't think they're going to cut him anything. Starting quarterback of the Raiders.
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland as well. Both these teams are offensively challenged, but I'm going to take the better coach in this one, which is Cleveland's coach. Not saying the team is good, but I'm taking the better coach over Antonio Pierce. Okay, how about Kansas? Not Kansas City Chargers. Not a good one. Is there one you want to talk about real quick?
Well, so we got the Thursday night game, which is the Cowboys versus Giants. Both are 1-2. Okay. Dallas is favored by 6, which is a big spread for me against when you're a team that hasn't been able to find ways to win. What do you got? Just real quick.
Yeah,
don't give me
I'm taking Dallas. I can't take Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's 6 points. I know that's a lot to give up at home on the road, but I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'm with you. I like the Cowboys. Yeah. Let's see. Saints Falcons.
Saints to Falcons. Oh yeah, good game.
Atlanta's 1-2, but they're favored by 2.5 against the Saints.
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints to bounce back.
I'm taking Atlanta to win the game.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins is really, really good on Sundays when he's not on TV and at 10 a.m.
Yeah, Falcons have had the Saints number, but I'll take the Saints in this one. How about this one though? Because this is the game. Remember, I bet Denver against Tampa Bay because this game right here was a look ahead. Philadelphia and Tampa Bay, rematch from the playoffs first round last year. It's Philly on the road, favored by 2 against Tampa. Who you like?
Wait, Philly. Who's favored? I'm sorry.
Philly on the
Philly
road
by 2.
Mm-hmm. They're playing at Tampa, just like in the playoffs. Wow. Yeah, you know what? This is hard, but I'm gonna take the Bucks too in this one. It wouldn't surprise me if Philly won, but I'm gonna take the Bucks.
I wouldn't touch this on a bet.
No, definitely not.
Any circumstances.
Definitely not. But Baker was able to abuse this defense last year.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
but Baker's got rookies playing pretty well.
Yeah. So Philly got some rookies in the defense backfield. Any other game?
Yeah, here's I'm cheating right now. I'm doing something to make you feel bad when you're done. The Steelers versus the Colts. Pittsburgh's favored by 1.5. Who do you got? I know who you got, but
I'm gonna take the Steelers.
And that's gonna make their record what?
4-0, undefeated, the best team in their division. Yes. Hey, Brian, I've looked. I mean, Cincinnati's 0-3, the Ravens are 1-2, and I'm looking up the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I had win the division last year, is now winning the division this year. Right now, I got them to go to beat Indianapolis.
So I just wanted you to have to say that the Steelers are going to go undefeated and 4-0.
Yeah.
After we thought that this might be the season. You more than me, but you thought that the season that he doesn't get his winning record.
Right.
Tomlin's gonna. I think he's found a way to get his winning record yet again. At what point in time do we just recognize him as a really, really outstanding?
He is
top 5, 10, 5 to 7 coach.
He is.
Yeah.
Definitely. I gotta ask you this real quick. Does Cincinnati get their first win? They play at Carolina.
Absolutely, and yes, I think they've been pretty close to wins. I think that they're getting better. I think this is a game they win. I think this game is going to be way closer than people would think if they look at their records, because people are going to be imagining the old Andy Dalton and Bryce Young team, not the current one from last week. And I think this is going to be a shootout.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody
Wait,
that
who'd
you
you
have
want?
this week?
Who'd you get?
Oh, I'm taking Cincinnati
Bengals.
as well. The spread's only 4. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
three
It's
and a
going to
half.
be closer than that. Yeah, I got Cincinnati barely winning this game by three or less. Now, this game might surprise you. It's Chicago -3 against the Rams. I'm taking Chicago
Yeah,
to
I'm
not only cover the
shocked.
spread to win. I'm taking
Nope, give me the
Chicago.
Rams.
You want the Rams? Okay. All right. So that's the one we disagree on. So we'll revisit that next week. Okay. This doesn't look like there's any other games on the schedule to have
No.
any intrigue. Okay. Hogwash segment, the segment that you invented. I'm going to start first, Brian.
Okay.
My hogwash segment, my hogwash is a damn Chicago White Sox. I know many people don't watch baseball, but I have to tell you, this
Tons
is
of people watch
probably
it.
the worst team probably in the history of baseball. They have 120 losses out of 158 games. There's still 4 more games left in the season. They have 120 losses. I don't know how you go 38 and 120 and you're a professional baseball team. I was so intrigued by this. I actually had to read about this. And Jerry Reinsdorf, the guy who was the CEO of the Bulls, too, who owns the Bulls, this dude, they said he has people working for the White Sox that should not be in Major League Baseball. And one of the decisions he made was when he hired Tony La Russa to be the manager. And people say, "Oh, Tony La Russa, he was good. He won World Series. Yeah, he did. But he was 76 when he hired him and didn't manage in 10 years. So I don't understand why he got the job being damn near 80. But anyway, the White Sox are my hogwash. They are a terrible, terrible baseball team. I think I could play for them. What's your hogwash, Brian?
I'm dividing this in two, so I'll be quick. I'll try to be
Mm-hmm.
quick. The UCF basketball team has 3 felons who have been kicked off of teams, but they might be the most talented college basketball team in the country. So Mikey
University of
Williams.
Central Florida?
Yep.
Okay, go
Mikey
ahead.
Williams, who
Oh,
went to
Mikey Williams.
Memphis and then
Yeah.
got kicked out of the school while dealing with felony charges,
Okay.
has enrolled at UCF. They're paying this team handsomely. Dior Johnson, who was billed the next KD, who transferred to 9 different high school and was considered a menace of a human being, then went to Pitt as one of the top 25 players in the country and was arrested on multiple felony counts of assault and strangulation. The charges were dropped. He is now enrolled at UCF. Then he went to JC and now he's back over there. Benny Williams, who was a top 25 recruit who went to Syracuse, got into a fight with his coach and kicked off the team on detrimental. Now at UCF. These 3 players were considered 3 of the best players in all of basketball at different points over the last few years, and they're now all at UCF. This is what you can do when you have NIL money and a lack of character concerns because it's all about profit. I don't necessarily call this hogwash because it's not like I think they're necessarily wrong. All of these kids have been cleared or had the charges dropped, but it helps that they had lots of NIL money to be able to give to the people who were accusing this stuff. And here you are. So you may have the most talented team in the country with those 3 players who might be an NCAA contender going to UCF because they all had enough charges on them at the same time. Full stop. The next one is, it is absolutely hogwash that Stephen A. Smith has apparently lost his damn mind. So he has come out and confirmed the rumor, but not the rationale, and says he's not going to negotiate against himself, and said that he wants $100 million for his next contract, which is about to be negotiated for 5 years. He said, and he was talking about Dak Prescott and some of the other quarterbacks. The person who was talking to him said, yeah, they're starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You cover the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You want their kind of money.
Yeah.
And he said, I am the biggest thing at ESPN. I am better than everyone at what I do, and I deserve the money that I get. He didn't talk about the exact numbers. He said he wanted to negotiate against himself. $100 million.
Damn.
5 years.
To hear him talk.
I would. If I had the money, I might pay. If I had lots and lots and lots of money to burn, I might pay him $100 million to shut F up.
Oh man, damn! Because if you give him that kind of money, you can't say anything to him.
Can't say it.
You can't say. Yeah, you can't say nothing. You can't stop him from saying or doing whatever he wants. Yeah,
Nope.
Seriously. Damn, that's crazy. Okay, minute to win it. segment. I'll start here as well. My minute to win it actually could be a hogwash too. Okay, but my minute to win it. I read about this today. The Tennessee Volunteers, who beat Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Sooners in football this past week in college football, they announced that they're going to add, Brian, a 10% talent fee to its season ticket prices. So these guys who they give NIL money to are these four or five star recruits. They're going to add 10% to the season tickets just to watch these guys play. You don't even know if they're going to be any good. They just have a 5-star rating. They paid them a bunch of money. That right there is a minute to win it and hogwash at the same damn time. Good luck. And the thing is, Brian, the reason why I brought this up is not only because I found this appalling, a word I never use, but I think other schools are going to adopt this policy. I really do.
I agree with you. I think
I really do.
I think top schools will absolutely be able to show with clarity where the NIL money is coming from. Yep. All right. By the way, we have officially failed. So last week we did a really good job keeping it under an hour. We did not do it that way. Okay. But anyways,
we tried.
My minute to win it is a hats off to Shohei Ohtani, who has absolutely lit up the record books. But there's one thing that I want to point out that I heard recently, and that was going into this week. So this was 2 days ago. That this was a fact. The four game stretch preceding it, he had 14 hits, 13 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and 5 home runs in a 4-game continuous stretch, one game after the other. That sounds really good, but let's put it into context. If you took every baseball player from 1920 till now, and that reason 1920 is because they didn't have RBIs before that. If you took and you took their 4 best games of their entire careers and put them together, there would be no one who has had the same 4-game stretch that Ohtani had in 4 continuous games back.
Dang,
no one. And every single player for their 4 best games for their entire career. So you think about that. The best players you can think of: Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, whoever you want. Their 4 biggest games of their entire careers isn't as good as the 4-game stretch that Shohei had coming out of the weekend and into this week.
Crazy. Great player.
Incredible.
Yes, that. And once again, that's why Brian's the closer on that. Once again, thank you for joining us again. Without GB, will be back with us next week. We appreciate all of you tuning in. Have a great day.
Catch you later.